Good evening. Haven't gone live on Instagram the last couple, so I'm gonna do get an Instagram set up. As you come in, please hit the like button. Please say hello. Welcome, welcome. All righty. And then I'm gonna get this set up over here. How is y'all's Thursday going? Ready for the weekend? Go ahead and put any questions that you have. We'll get rolling here in a sec. G Combs says, "What up? How's it going, man? Thanks for popping in here. What did I do wrong? Okay. Oh, you know what I did wrong? I did not. Yeah, it is connected to the Wi-Fi. I thought maybe I just connected on the cell connection, which would be a big pain. All right, cool. All right, so we got G Combs popped in. What's up? Lloyd, we're live right now on IG as well. I haven't done IG in a while. So thanks for popping in. Got a couple folks from YouTube, a couple folks from LinkedIn. Awesome. Thanks for the likes. As you come in, please hit the like button. Definitely appreciate it. And thanks for saying hello. All right. So was on an interview yesterday. Shout out to Rob from How to Exit podcast. Really amazing guys, connecting a lot of folks in the industry and doing some cool interviews. And so it was cool to talk to him. And one of the things that came up was this concept of just, I feel like one of my realizations when I first started my first fund, which was something I had to be pushed into because I didn't get it. And I've talked here before where you know when I had a couple mentors, one who flipped hospitals, and he was basically saying, "Hey, you should move away from just doing these deals and put it into a private equity fund." And you know, my kind of logical thinking at that point was, dude, right now I'm doing the deals and I get to keep all the money, and you're telling me to do the deals and split some of the money. So I basically have a chance, have a choice between either keeping all the money or keeping some of the money. And so it was interesting because I had basically these two different mentors. One of my mentors in Miami, and then my first mentor was in Tennessee. And at this point, I'm also traveling around, and that was one of the things that consistently came up. And so, you know, basically, one was like, "All right, I'm gonna put together a few investors. Let's get the first fund. Just see if you like it." And I had all these realizations that started to pop up once I got that first fund, and one of them was that number one, managing a fund, thinking like an investor is a totally different thing. I'm gonna talk about the toughest lesson that I have to almost convince people of, or help them to see you know, helping them to see the light when it comes to these private equity funds. But one of the things for me was the realization that, wow, okay, everybody eventually has to manage a fund. For most people, that fund is their nest egg. So they're working, you know, whatever, 30, 40 years if they're an employee, maybe 15, 20 years for the average entrepreneur. And, you know, eventually they've got this nest egg and they've had their expertise as an employee. They've had their expertise in the industry that their businesses were in, if they're a business owner or entrepreneur. And now they've saved this nest egg and they retire. And guess what they have to do? They have to professionally manage that nest egg. So that nest egg is really their fund. And the troubling aspect of that is they've literally never managed a fund before. And you know, we've talked before just about some of the people who have done a really great job of that, and then they get into retirement, and you know, we saw that with Bernie Madoff, and you know, they made what they thought were conservative decisions, and but they didn't know enough about basically managing that nest egg, which was their fund. And so for some people, they make mistakes there. And the really devastating thing is for that nest egg, the only way they know how to do it is to start a business from scratch if they were an entrepreneur and work on that business for years and years, maybe save up some money, eventually have an exit, and eventually retire. And so you've got that path, which is 15, 20 years. Even worse if they're an employee and save those funds up for 30, 40 years. And the real goal is, you want to be able to manage it and grow it, let alone just hoping that you don't lose it all. And so one of my realization was, okay, this is basically like a shortcut. You could have 4 or 5 years where you become an expert at managing a fund and raising capital for a fund. And it's something that you're going to have to learn how to do eventually. But instead of waiting till the end of your life to learn how to do it, you're doing it now. And the really cool thing is when you're raising capital, you're not dependent on having to go out and make that money. So I realized that same skill set of me living off the returns of a fund and giving returns to the people that invested was a skill set that is going to be necessary for everybody to have. And so that was one of the interesting conversations that we had on the how to exit. That's supposed to come out next week. So I'll share the link on Instagram. So if you're over here and you're not on my Instagram, be sure that you follow there. If you're on Instagram, be sure you jump over to YouTube and all that good stuff. All right, so let's get to a couple of questions. I just come in. I will say, the other part of this that has been interesting. I have a couple PEFI calls a week right now. I was having one of the calls, and this is something that I find in each PEFI becomes tough for the business owners in the group. Is when we're investing in these deals, for the most part, we're buying equity. And we're not so much concerned about the business. From a private equity perspective, the only goal is ROI. And so if you're looking for a return on investment, it's really more like a day trader than it is being an investor. And I think one of the toughest things is for folks to get used to this idea of kind of being in a space that I again say this all the time, but it's been a corporate raider. We don't hear about corporate raiders anymore because they rebranded and they did an amazing job. They rebranded it to private equity, softened some of the strategies because they got so much flack in the 80s. So that's something I want to talk more about in an upcoming video for sure, because that's been really interesting. All right, so I'm going to put the questions on the screen over on YouTube if y'all want to see those for you Instagram folks. Let's see. So we did have G Combs that popped in, said, hi, Ace. I'll kind of go back and forth. Hillary, what is up? Hillary Miller, thanks for popping in. Mogul says, Mr. Ace, what up? PRL, what's up? Lloyd, I haven't seen you in a while. Great to see you. Thanks for popping in. He says, hello, money making ace. I think that's what they called the ace in what was Dame's movie, Paid in Full. Money making ace. Oh no, it was Money Making Mitch, and then Ace was the other character in that. Thanks for popping in. Conducting. I love this username. Conducting and tomfoolery. Tomfoolery is one of those words that doesn't get used enough anymore. That's a great username. Conducting and tomfoolery also says, I'm all green this week, baby. Up 8%. That, my friend, is a beautiful thing. PRL says, hi over here. Hillary says 100. Leon says, what's going on, sir? Jay Twitty, what is up? Thanks for popping in. Jay Twitty is a part of our, move this, part of our good merger team. So thanks for popping in, sir. All right. Where was I over here? Let's see if we got any questions. Rennie, what is up? Says, what's up, Ace? Thanks for popping in. Vicar popped in. Lloyd. All right, so we got a question. Good deal. Good deal. Lloyd says, what are some things that you do as a part of your due diligence when you start your acquisition. So this has been something that I've definitely evolved in a lot of ways over the last few years. I really focus a lot less. I've really focused on two things. Number one, at this point, I'm really doing deals that have some strategic advantage to a business that I'm buying. And so that's the only reason I'm buying it. You know what I mean? So we're looking at this financing company out in Arizona. And there were some things in due diligence where we're like, we may want to walk away from this. And so I was talking to my partner on the deal, and I was like, this as crazy as these other things are that we've come across, the truth is that it still has the thing that we need for the other businesses. So we can still plug that in. And so that's one of the things that's really changed is as you start to build a portfolio, you're really buying a business for a specific purpose. So you see this with Google, you see this with Amazon. You'll hear about these acquisitions that happen, and they fire all the team, they stop any marketing, they get rid of all this stuff. And it's like, what in the world? Like they just threw away the company. But in a lot of cases, there was one specific thing that they needed. There was one specific technology that they needed. So they overpaid for everything else because they needed that, but they don't really care about any of the other things. It could be a database of customers. And then it could be a combination where they get rid of all of those other things. They've got the combination of things that they need. And that's more of where else. That's number one. Number two is when it comes to the actual kind of due diligence in the deal outside of those specific assets, what we're looking more at is the deal structure after that. So to protect yourself, it's way, way, way more about deal structure than it is about what's going on in the business. And that, even for me, it's interesting. I think there's so many things in this space that are just perspective based. It's not necessarily about the reality. It's not about what's going on. It's just like you're stuck with this perspective. And we're taught that due diligence is really important. And it took a vet in the space who actually went through one of our programs at Goldman Sachs. He worked for Goldman Sachs, and we helped them buy a business because they were driving them into the ground. And one of the things I love about this whole process, one of the things I love about all of this is, I get to learn from folks. We have someone who is joining our the private equity fund incubator program, and works for a international stock exchange. And so it's like, hey, I just took a public. There's stuff that she's joined the program, but I'm going to learn from her and get perspective from her. And so it's definitely about the group. But one of the things that I learned from him was like, dude, like this due diligence stuff, at the end of the day, as crazy as that is to say, is it just doesn't matter. Like you could number one have the perfect, everything looks perfect in the due diligence today, and the whole world changes. It comes World War III, there's COVID, there's no matter how perfect your due diligence is, it just doesn't matter because you can't control, you're not God, you can't control the world. What you can control, and the most important thing, is deal structure. And so again, it's really crazy, but we do very little due diligence. When we're doing the PEFI 3, when I talk about us getting a 300, mixing up numbers. PEFI 1, where we did a 300% return, very little time spent on due diligence, a ton of time spent on deal structure. So a ton of time spent on where's the strategic advantage? What are we getting what do we want out of this deal? And how are we getting that out of this deal? So that is something that's shifted. It does take being really good at deal structuring, but like due diligence, as crazy as it sounds, doesn't even matter. So all these guys that are selling the programs to figure out the latest, greatest due diligence, what happens when your developers are based in Ukraine? Like you didn't know that last year. That was not on anybody's radar. But due diligence could still, deal structure could still save you there. Cool. Let's pop. Melanie Green, thanks for popping in. Says, got to catch the live. Thank Thanks for all you share. Thank you for coming in, and thank y'all for liking the video. Y'all didn't like you didn't like the video yet, did you? I'm not talking to you, Melanie. I'm talking to these other people. I'm talking to these other folks that are just come popping in, don't want to hit the like button. Thank you for saying hello. And thanks for that shout out. I certainly appreciate it. We got Jay Twitty over here says, only thing you can control is the deal structure, baby. That's it. You can't control what's going on in the world. And due diligence is basically just a snapshot of, hey, here's what's going on in this business based on what's going on in the world right now. So, and that could change tomorrow. We're living in crazy times, crazy times. Let me say hi to some folks over on this side. Cool. And Melanie has a question. So she says, do you have any super duper beginner resources, info for those of us who want to work our way up to private equity status? One of the tougher things is that there aren't a lot of great beginner resources. The podcast that I was on, we're talking about one of the other people that was interviewed who wrote the book, Private Equity Playbook, a book that I really like. And but you know, again, he's somebody who's been involved in billion-dollar deals, and there's not a lot of folks just like, hey, here is going from zero to this level. You know, if you have that executive, he came from more of a executive background. It just changes everything. And so I am happy to say we decided not to worry about the deadline. Ange is doing an amazing job. She'll probably watch this, getting that book wrapped up. We're probably in March. My book, Infinite Returns, is gonna be released, and that's the private equity intro book. So be on the lookout for that. You know, I wanted to start very simple and just go from zero to the basic knowledge, because there's not a lot from that perspective. Most of the people that are in private equity come from investment banking backgrounds. And so they're just speaking from a different place. And there's the way that they see the world, you know, that when I'm talking about even the lessons that I learned from like who worked at Goldman Sachs, who was in our program, that those perspectives are something that you really only get if you're behind the scenes on Wall Street, and they're not teaching that stuff to the front end. It's crazy. The amount that I've learned taking Fiji public has been unreal. And, you know, I know quite a bit, you know, started 8, 9 funds, you know, been pretty deep in finance, but all this stuff is a education. So that's coming next month. I'm sorry, by the end of this month, Melanie, we will have that out. Thanks for that question. Oh man, AVF now. Great question. He asked, please talk about distressed companies. So this lines up to that same thing that I was mentioning. Most people look at a distressed company and they don't want to buy it. They're like, oh, well, this has problems and da, da, da. But if a company is making any positive money, I think the first thing to understand is that to make a profit is rare. Like 90% of businesses never make a profit. So you're literally looking at a unicorn. If you're looking at a business that's making money, you're looking at something that is incredible. And so there are two parts of this. If it's a distressed company and it's not making money, then I just don't. That's not valuable. It's zero. But if it's a distressed company, if it's got issues and it's making money, that is exactly. So it's so funny, and we just had this, which we're going to get to the lesson. You know, as we go through these PEFIs, they're on a different side, but you know, this will be a lesson that comes. But literally, we're talking about companies last night, and like, well, you know, this company, the prospectus looks really good, and you know, everything looks great, and it's been around for this many years, and all this stuff is great. And from a business owner perspective, like that sounds really cool. But if it's been around for 10 years and making this much money, everything is really well operating, like how much is the upside? On the other hand, if you got this company, it looks ugly. There's nothing, good about it. There are all these issues, and it's making money. That's what you want, not the thing that looks perfect. You want the thing that, like, wait a minute, this somehow is making money, and it's got this problem and that problem and that problem. Like, that's where you get value. That's where you get to learn. That's where you get to improve. That's where it's exciting. And the upside for us is when we're in these deals, we're not going to be in it for a long period of time. And so if it has something that's been around for 10 years and it's going to take a long time to try to improve that, we've got a 2-year fund. We need the thing where it's like, okay, all these things are broken. Let's try to fix 3 or 4 of them. Now we got some upside in that deal. So we need that low hanging fruit. So love the stress that are making money. I don't do anything with the stress that aren't making money. Great question, ABF. Thanks for popping in. Jay Twist says, awesome. Can't wait for the book. Infinite Returns, baby. Okay. Leon Brown says, how do you find partners? So just, man, so many ways. I've been doing different things for a long time. And so one of the best ways to find partners is you buy a business and you get to build relationships in that industry. And so the cool thing is, whether I've been in a lot of different industries, from owning 10 tanning salons, I still have relationships. One of my friends from back then, he was in that space, sold 20 or so of his salons, just, did basically a $10 million deal. So it was fun to talk to him about that. At the same time, was talking to a business brokerage that's maybe exiting for a large amount. And so, keeping those relationships from each industry, what I mean? It's like from tanning to finance to music to, just like we're doing to animation studio. We're doing all these different businesses, and in each industry that you do a deal in, that becomes a opportunity for you to build more relationships. All right, I'm gonna try to run through these. I do got to bounce. I got a 6:30, so got 5 minutes. Let's do rapid fire and some of these. Lloyd says, talking about corporate raiders, Carl Icahn is a proxy fight against McDonald's. Yeah, I love watching him. He's an entertaining deal maker for sure. So if you don't keep up with Carl Icahn, definitely keep up with him. Dustin, always working. What's up? My YouTube link goes to a 404 page. Yeah, that's weird. But you can also just go to YouTube and search Ace Chapman, and I will definitely pop up. So just go to YouTube, search Ace Chapman, and thanks for that heads up on that, Dustin. I appreciate that. Melly says they like it. They better like. Yes, y'all need to be like the video. Jeremiah popped in to say hello. I appreciate the greeting. It's just the appropriate thing to do. Is to when you pop into a place, say hello. No problem at all. Mel says thank you. Need to join DMI. Yes, if you're interested in joining Dealmakers Institute, go to dealmakersinstitute.com. Let's see. Randy Lee. Yes, I love it. So back when I bought the Homevestor business, talking about networks and just partners and all that stuff, the Randy was somebody who, man, we did a lot of deals together. Randy, we did a lot of deals together back in the day, man. Those were really amazing times. But Randy popped by and says, hey, Ace, come share your message on my podcast, Flipping Genius. You can teach us up. Hell, if nothing else, we'll sell some of your books, introduce you to a new audience. I'm down. Philip says it's in 58 countries in all 50 states. This is literally a case of what we're just talking about. How do you find your partners? How do you network? So this is somebody, and a good friend at this point, but somebody I did deals with back in the day, taught me also about the bartering business, which led to a whole nother deal. And just a really great thing. And so, just like this, just reaches out and says, hey, pop over. And especially when you're friends with people that are going to do amazing things. There's just some people that are going to always be doing amazing things. And this is a case in point. Randy, obviously, would love to come on your podcast, and man, would just love to catch up. In way too long, sir. Way too long. Let's see what got 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. How many more of these? All right, so I'll do this one and one more, and then I'll pop out. Joshua says, what has surprisingly been the most interesting industry you have been a part of? Oh man, what a great question, Joshua. Wow, that is a really good one. It may take me too long to even debate between all of them, because it's hard to, I have things that I'm excited about right now, but if I look back over 20 years of doing deals, it is really difficult. But I just think in general, for me, what's exciting is definitely providing financing. We've got 4 different businesses that are doing financing for small businesses, and that one's interesting just because I like, number one, helping and investing in businesses, and I get to see a lot of different businesses, which is one of the reasons I like private equity as well. So like with that industry, it kind of lets me do that from a specific business standpoint. But I'm also going to think on that because I think back, like when obviously I'm very interested in profits as well, and so 2 of the really profitable ones have been more internet related, and then the salons would have been a really great deal. So, well, I'll think on that. But really great question. I appreciate you asking that. I hadn't thought about that. All right, last one, and I gotta pop out. I'm a minute late. Good afternoon, Mr. Chapman. Can you walk me through my Screen SaaS business deal? I'm looking to talk to the seller next week, and what questions I should ask. So let's. I'll have to get to that on the next one. I won't be able to do that here, but definitely we'll. If you want to send me the link, we'll cover it on another live. All right. Lord says, thanks, Ace. Have a great night. Can a novice really jump in head first? 100%. Big mega. 100%. I was just talking about, we've got in the good merger business, we've got a 21-year-old young man. I won't say kid. I feel like he's a kid, but he joined the team, did 21,000 or so in the first month, and the last 30 days done about $30,000. So that he was just an amazing guy, but a novice. Jerry says, can you mentor me? We do all the mentoring through DoomXInstitute.com. So check that out. That's a great note to end on. Thank you all so much for popping in. I certainly appreciate it. Hit the like button so we get out of here. Put any other questions or comments, and I'll be back soon.